Prologue, a normal day. Morning light filtered through the window in thin golden stripes. John sat on the edge of his bed, notebooks open in front of him, but his eyes were unfocused. His pencil tapped against the corner of the page, a quiet, restless rhythm. It wasn't the exam that stressed him. It was the fact that he couldn't make himself care enough. From the kitchen came the faint clatter of dishes. "John," his mother called, her voice gentle but tired. "Did you eat something?" "In a minute, Mom." He stood and stepped into the hallway. She was already dressed for work, bag on her shoulder, hair tied up hastily. She looked like someone who woke up too early and went to sleep too late. She worked hard. She always had. "I've got a double shift today," she said with a faint smile. "Take care of your sister, okay?" John nodded. It wasn't a request. It was routine. From the living room, his little sister Mia appeared, clutching a worn stuffed toy. She was small, fragile, her eyes still heavy with sleep. She walked up to him silently and grabbed his sleeve. "Are you going to school?" she asked quietly. John crouched down and fixed her messy bangs. "Yeah. But I'll be back soon." A small smile. "I promise." Mia studied him for a few seconds, as if verifying the promise was real. Then she leaned into him, satisfied. Their mother watched from the doorway. For just a moment, the exhaustion faded from her eyes. "You're a good brother," she said softly. John shrugged, embarrassed. "I'm just doing what I can." The truth was simple. He had been taking care of Mia for as long as he could remember. Picking her up from school. Cooking. Helping with homework. Not because someone told him to. Because that was normal. After his mother left, John returned to his room. The notebooks were still there. The exam still waiting. He sat down and sighed. "Okay," he muttered. "Let's get this over with." He reached toward the page. The moment his fingers touched the paper, the world stopped. The ticking of the clock cut off mid-beat. Light froze in the air. Everything turned white for a fraction of a second. Then a voice. Calm. Neutral. Without emotion. "System initialization complete." The words didn't appear on a screen. They appeared inside his mind. Humanity has entered the survival phase. Monsters will appear worldwide. Support will be provided through the system. "What?" he managed to whisper. The room vanished. The floor vanished. The air changed. Gravity returned first. John fell to his knees onto a cold, hard surface, gasping as unfamiliar damp air filled his lungs. An echo answered him. When he looked up, he was no longer home. A translucent interface flickered at the edge of his vision. "Beginner zone, error location, unknown." For the first time, a real chill ran through him. Not fear. Realization. "No," he said quietly. "I have to go back." His fists clenched. He couldn't die here. Not yet. He had a family waiting for him. Act 1. Wrong spawn. The wind touched his face first. John's eyes snapped open. He inhaled sharply. The air was cold. Damp. Heavy with the scent of soil and leaves. There was no ceiling above him. There was sky. He pushed himself up slowly. Heart pounding. Tall trees surrounded him. Thick trunks covered in moss. Dense foliage fractured the sunlight into narrow beams. The ground was uneven. Roots twisted across the soil like natural traps. A forest. He stood and turned in place. No roads. No buildings. No distant city noise. Only leaves whispering in the wind. And unfamiliar birds calling from somewhere unseen. The system interface flickered in the corner of his vision. Unstable. Beginner zone. Error. Location. Unknown dungeon. Dungeon, he muttered. This looks like a national park. The window expanded on its own. As if the system decided he needed more information. Status. John. Class. Undefined. Level. 1. Attributes. Strength, 3. Agility, 3. Endurance, 3. Perception, 2. Skill slots. Empty. He stared at the numbers. So this is really an RPG. He didn't say it as a joke. The structure was too precise. Too deliberate. If this is a game, then the rules are simple. Observe before you move. He stepped forward carefully, testing each patch of ground before shifting his weight. The roots formed natural snares. Some tree trunks bore deep claw marks. As if something large passed through often. His center of gravity lowered instinctively. A rustle came from the left. He froze. Not wind. Too heavy. Too controlled. His body reacted before his thoughts did. Knees bent. Breathing steady. Weight balanced. Just like training. From the brush emerged a bear. Or what used to be a bear. Massive. Corrupted. Its fur was matted. Dark patches spread across its body like burned flesh. Its eyes were clouded. Stripped of intelligence. Fear climbed his spine. But he didn't run. The bear attacked. The first swipe passed inches from his head, splintering a thin tree trunk. The second struck his thigh. The pain was violent. John rolled through leaves and dirt, gasping, forcing himself upright. The creature wasn't rushing. It knew its prey was finished. The next blow launched him into the base of a jagged rock formation. His back collided hard. Air ripped from his lungs. The interface flared red. HP, 5%. Status, critical. His vision blurred. Then he saw it. Above them, wedged precariously in a crack in the rock, a massive boulder rested. Balanced only by stillness. The bear advanced for the final strike. John forced himself upright. He slammed his shoulder deliberately into the rock. The vibration traveled upward. The boulder shifted. The bear lunged. Exactly what he wanted. At the last second, John threw himself sideways. The impact of the creature's step shook the stone loose. The boulder fell. A devastating crash. A wet, crushing sound. The bear's body convulsed once. Then went still. Silence. The forest held its breath. The system reappeared. Target eliminated. Warmth surged through his body. Beginning in his chest. Spreading to every limb. Level up. The pain vanished instantly. Not dulled. Gone. His breathing stabilized. His muscles no longer trembled. He flexed his injured leg. No pain. He looked down. His skin was intact. No blood. No bruises. Even his torn clothes appeared restored. HP, fully restored. Status, all injuries healed. Attribute points received, 3. John leaned against the rock. He exhaled slowly. So that's how it works. His gaze drifted across the forest again. Same trees. Same shadows. But he wasn't the same anymore. Fine, he said quietly. Then we keep going. Act 2, First Steps. John remained leaning against the rock for a few moments, letting the forest settle back into uneasy silence. The bear's massive corpse lay still. The system interface hovered calmly before him now. Status update, Level 2 class, undefined level, 2 attributes, base strength, 3 agility, 3 endurance, 3 perception, 2 unspent attribute points, 3 skill slots, empty. So this is the part where I choose, he murmured. His gaze drifted toward the forest. After what had just happened, he knew exactly what he lacked. Mobility. Durability. Awareness. He reached forward and touched the interface. Attribute allocation agility, 3 to 4 endurance, 3 to 4 perception, 2 to 3 unspent attribute points, 0. The change wasn't explosive. It was subtle. His breathing evened out completely. His legs felt lighter, more responsive. The forest sounds sharpened, leaves shifting, insects buzzing, something moving far beyond sight. Good, he said quietly. I can work with this. His eyes returned to the bear. But I can't stay here. The system flickered again. Inventory unlocked. A new window opened. Inventory, basic pack, basic clothing, clean, short dagger, beginner, emergency rations ×3. John blinked. Bit late, don't you think? Still, he wasn't complaining. He summoned the dagger. It was simple, balanced, nothing special, but real steel felt far better than empty hands. He approached the bear cautiously and cut away a large section of fur from a cleaner area. Warmth, he muttered. Useful. He changed into the clean clothing provided by the inventory. The contrast between fresh fabric and dried blood made him grimace. I need water. The pond not far from the fight, the forest opened into a small clearing. At its center lay a quiet pond, the surface smooth and reflective beneath the fractured sky. John approached carefully, scanning the perimeter before kneeling. The water was cold. He washed his hands first. Then his arms. Then his face. The metallic scent of blood slowly faded. He looked at his reflection. Still me, he whispered. But not quite. Shelter. The light began to dim. Shadows stretched longer between the trees. I need somewhere safe for the night. After searching cautiously, he found a massive old tree with a hollow trunk large enough to shelter him. He laid the bare fur near the entrance and sat inside, dagger within reach. He opened one of the emergency rations and ate slowly. Not great, he muttered. But it'll do. Night. The forest transformed completely after sunset. Day sounds vanished, replaced by distant flutters and unfamiliar cries. John remained awake, back against the hollow wall, listening. Then he heard it. A sharp, metallic screech. Wings. Of course. He barely had time to react. From the darkness, a massive bat-like creature dropped directly onto him. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. Instinct took over. He shoved. Twisted. And both of them tumbled out of the hollow. The fall was chaotic. Roots tore at his clothes. Dirt filled his mouth. But his grip never left the dagger. The creature shrieked. Mid-fall, John drove the blade upward into softer resistance beneath its body. Once. Twice. They hit the ground hard. The creature convulsed violently, then went limp. Silence returned. John lay on his back, staring up through gaps in the canopy at the scattered stars. No peaceful nights, I guess. The system appeared. Enemy eliminated. EXP gained not enough to level up. He pushed himself up slowly and returned to the hollow, far more alert now. He wrapped the fur tighter around himself, dagger resting against his chest. Tomorrow, he whispered. I keep moving. And eventually, exhaustion claimed him. For the first time since arriving, the forest allowed him to sleep. Act 3, Morning. Morning light slipped through the canopy in thin silver beams. John woke slowly, senses sharpening before his eyes fully opened. The forest felt different now. Not safer. Readable. He stepped out of the hollow tree carefully, scanning the area before stretching his stiff shoulders. The night had passed without another attack, but he didn't mistake that for mercy. His thoughts drifted home. His mother. Mia. He didn't know if they were alive. He didn't know what the world looked like now. He only knew one thing. He had to survive. Not for glory. Not for levels. For them. The system flickered softly. New skill acquired: improvised dagger combat, passive, efficiency increased when using short improvised blades. John blinked. So it's learning from me. Or maybe he was learning from it. He ate another ration slowly, conserving what remained, then walked back to the pond to drink. The cold water cleared the last haze of sleep from his mind. All right, he murmured. Let's move. He began walking again, slower this time, deliberate. The moss on the trees wasn't random. It grew thicker on certain sides. Not all, but enough to form a pattern. He touched the bark. Cooler here. Drier there. Light direction, he muttered. Or wind. Not certainty. But information. He carved a small mark into a tree near the pond. Simple. Visible. A reference point. Then another, further ahead. The system responded faintly. Active orientation detected, chance of becoming lost reduced. John exhaled slowly. No map. No compass. But the system acknowledged behavior. That was enough. He moved deeper into the forest. The terrain shifted gradually. Trees thinned. The ground hardened, scattered with exposed stones that jutted upward like buried bones. Then something moved. A blur from the left. A small, low creature with an elongated body and unnaturally fast limbs burst from the brush. Its red eyes locked onto him instantly. The interface appeared. Forest scavenger, minor level, 2. It attacked without hesitation. John didn't panic. His increased perception caught the muscle contraction before the leap. He stepped aside at the last second. Clean. Controlled. The dagger moved almost on its own. A short thrust beneath the jawline. Precise. The creature collapsed. Monster eliminated. EXP plus 20. John remained still for a moment. That hadn't been luck. That had been control. The passive skill didn't flash again, but he felt it. His movements were more economical. No wasted motion. He scanned the area. Silence. A few meters ahead, the trees opened into a small clearing. At its center stood ruins, old stone fragments half swallowed by moss and thick roots. Broken columns. Carved slabs. A circular formation partially collapsed. Like the remains of a forgotten altar. John stopped at the edge of the clearing. Okay, he whispered. That's new. Act 4, the altar. The ruins did not look recent. Nor natural. The air felt different inside the clearing, heavier, denser. The sounds of the forest seemed to stop exactly at its edge, as if the place refused to let them in. The system interface appeared slowly. Point of interest discovered. Type, unknown. State, dormant. John stepped closer to the broken stone circle. Behind him lay the forest, chaotic, alive, hostile. Before him stood something ancient. Silent. Waiting. He didn't know if it was help. Or a trap. But if there was a path out of this dungeon, this felt like the beginning. He stepped inside the circle. The air shifted instantly. Not colder. Not warmer. Heavier, like each breath had to be earned. The central stone slab was carved with symbols. Worn by time. Faded but deliberate. They didn't resemble the clean, digital text of the system. They were rough. Almost human. John reached out. Hesitated. Then touched the stone. The system flickered. Anomaly detected. Pre-system structure verifying. The altar vibrated faintly. The symbols began to glow with dim blue light. Behind the altar, the air condensed. A small figure stepped forward from shadow, half stone, half wood. Incomplete. Humanoid in shape, but rigid and unnatural. Its eyes were hollow. The interface appeared. Location guardian. State, observer. It did not attack. It stopped several meters away. Then it spoke. Not aloud. Directly into his mind. Power is not the test. Survival is not enough. Think. The altar flared brighter. The interface changed completely. Primary system mission. Type, cognitive trial. Failure, rejection. Success, limited access. The symbols detached from the stone and floated in the air. Time slowed. We do not seek correct answers. We seek true ones. Riddle 1. The more you use it, the less you have. You are given only one. What is it? John closed his eyes briefly. Time, he said softly. You don't spend it. You consume it. Resonance confirmed riddle 2. If you carry it, it protects you. If you drop it, it kills you. What is it? John tightened his grip on the dagger. Focus, he answered. If you lose it, you die. Resonance confirmed riddle 3. What lives only if you kill yet will kill you if you refuse. A chill ran down his spine. Survival, he said quietly. In this world, it isn't free. Silence. Then acceptance. Trial completed. Access granted. The central stone split open slowly. From within armor emerged. Dark metal. Almost black. Cold blue lines ran through cracks like veins of light. The plates were irregular, sharp-edged, layered imperfectly engraved with the same symbols as the altar. It did not shine. It absorbed light. The system flickered violently. Unknown item. Type, ancient armor. Status, hostile, conditional. Warning, incomplete data. John reached out. His fingers touched the armor. The mistake was immediate. Act 5, the fusion. The moment John touched the armor, reality fractured. There was no pain at first. The metal disassembled into countless fine fragments, like living shards, exploding outward in a spiral of dark light. For a single heartbeat, it felt as if space itself had torn open around him. Then the fragments reversed direction. They returned. They wrapped around him. Plates slammed into his back, shoulders, chest, not layered over his clothes, but replacing them. The blue lines ignited, flowing beneath his skin, tracing along his spine, down his arms, across his ribs. The air was ripped from his lungs. He dropped to one knee. The system interface exploded into existence without transition. Armor fused, forced binding. Name, unknown. State, active. Requirement, feeding. A new status window pulsed red. Critical status. Ancient hunger. Description: the armor requires blood to stabilize. Without regular feeding, it will begin consuming the host. Accepted method: elimination of hostile entities. Warning: refusal, internal degradation. John sucked in air sharply. The armor was not worn. It was present. He felt it across his back, his shoulders, his arms, heavy yet perfectly aligned to his movements. The blue veins pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. He could not remove it. He could not silence it. The altar behind him dimmed completely. The symbols faded. The stone returned to lifeless ruin. The sounds of the forest slowly crept back in wind, leaves, distant movement. John remained kneeling, pulse hammering in his ears. He looked down at his hands. They were no longer simply hands. Segmented black plates covered his forearms. The joints remained flexible, but reinforced. Along his spine, a clear blue line traced downward like a signature. "So this is it," he whispered. "This wasn't a gift. It was a contract." The system updated. Main objective updated. Objective: exit the dungeon. Sub-objective: feed the armor. John lifted his gaze toward the forest. The shadows between the trees seemed deeper now. Movement in the distance no longer meant simple danger. It meant sustenance. Monsters were no longer obstacles. They were resources. And if he refused, the armor would decide for him. Act 6, the first feeding. It didn't take long. The forest reacted. Not violently. Not immediately. But like a living organism that had sensed an internal shift. John moved carefully between the trees. His perception felt different now, not warning him of ambush, not signaling pursuit. It felt like a pull. A short, sharp sound came from the right. From beneath the roots of a twisted tree, a small creature crawled out, thinner than the scavenger he had killed the day before. Its body was narrow, movements uncertain. Hungry. Curious. The interface appeared automatically. Forest scavenger, minor. Level 1. John raised his dagger. Before he moved, he felt it. Not a voice. Not a command. Pressure. Centered in his chest. A restrained tension, not painful, not aggressive. Waiting. As if something inside him recognized prey. His status flickered faintly red. Ancient hunger, active. "Just one," John murmured. "That's it?" The scavenger leapt. John stepped sideways, clean, measured, and drove the dagger upward into the base of its throat. The motion was short. Efficient. The creature released a faint sound and collapsed. Instant death. And then something went wrong. The blood did not spill onto the ground. It was pulled. Not through the air. Not visibly. The body shriveled beneath his eyes. Skin tightening. Mass retracting inward. As if life itself were being extracted from the inside. In less than a second, only a dry carcass remained. John stepped back sharply, breathing unevenly. What the hell? The interface appeared. Feeding complete. Armor stabilized. A new panel opened. Not his status. Something else. Ancient armor, core. Level 1 EXP 12/50. State, stable. Hunger, satiated, temporary. John froze. It has levels. The panel continued coldly. Armor bonus, level 1. Passive stabilization, reduces physical shock upon impact. Residual absorption, a portion of eliminated enemy's life force is converted into temporary endurance. He didn't feel stronger. He didn't feel empowered. He felt buffered. As if future blows would not land fully on him. But there was more. Subtle effect after feeding, environmental silence. Perception increases. The forest felt wrong. Too quiet. Sounds were sharper yet distant. His breathing steady. Too steady for what had just happened. The interface displayed one final line. Warning. Armor evolves only through consistent feeding. Higher levels, greater requirements. John tightened his grip on the dagger. So it wasn't just a parasite. It was a parallel system. He had levels. The armor had levels. And if it grew hungry, he didn't finish the thought. He moved deeper into the forest. Not because he wanted to kill. But because now, he didn't have the option to stop. Act 7, the clearing. The light came abruptly. After hours beneath dense canopy and fractured shadows, the forest suddenly opened into a wide clearing washed in pale daylight. The grass was low. The air was too still. John slowed instinctively. "I don't like this," he muttered. Then he heard it. A sharp, rapid buzzing that sliced through the silence. From the edge of the clearing, something shot forward, a massive wasp, its abdomen dark and swollen, its stinger glass-like and unnaturally long. Its flight was erratic, but its trajectory was clear. The interface appeared. Corrupted wasp, minor. Level 2. It didn't give him time to think. The creature lunged. John raised his arm on instinct. The armor absorbed the initial impact, dulling what should have torn flesh. He stepped aside and slashed with his dagger. The blade caught a wing. The wasp spiraled and slammed into the ground. A shallow sting grazed his cheek, not deep, but enough to burn. He finished it quickly. A short sound. An inert body. Then buzzing. More. The air began to vibrate. From the trees. From the grass. From above. 3. Then 4. Their movement changed, no longer chaotic. Coordinated. This wasn't an encounter. It was a swarm. John tightened his grip on the dagger. Perfect. The first attacked head-on. The second from the flank. The third from above. His perception screamed directions. The armor absorbed minor shocks, but numbers were the problem. He cut one down. Dodged another. Then something shifted. A different impulse. Sharper. Structured. The interface flashed. Ancient armor, core. Level up. The world didn't slow. But his awareness did. Ancient armor, core. Level 2. State, stable. Active functions: instinctual guidance, passive, tactical projection, limited, projection. John breathed. No voice answered. Instead, when he tightened his grip on the dagger, faint translucent outlines appeared at the edges of his vision, rapid sketches layered over reality. Lines. Angles. Trajectories. They didn't materialize. They suggested available offensive options. Ballistic projection, dagger suggestion, short-range throw. Energy cost, moderate. Temporary formation, simple blade, short unstable sword projection. Duration, extremely limited. Efficiency dependent on user. John paused for a fraction of a second mid-fight. The armor wasn't creating a weapon for him. It was showing possibility. So you don't do it for me, he whispered. You show me what I can try. A pulse crossed his chest. Alignment. He threw the dagger. The motion followed the projected arc exactly. The blade pierced a wasp mid-air. Before it hit the ground, John retrieved it and cut down another. The last tried to flee. It didn't make it far. Silence reclaimed the clearing. The interface appeared again. Monsters eliminated. EXP sufficient, level up, user. John inhaled slowly. He was tired. But alive. And for the first time he wasn't just reacting. He was choosing. He looked across the clearing. The forest wasn't merely testing him anymore. It was observing. Act 8, Resistance. Less than 10 minutes had passed since the clearing fell silent. John moved more slowly now. Not because he was injured. Because something felt wrong. The sting on his shoulder didn't hurt anymore. That was the problem. A faint warmth crept up his arm and into his chest. His breathing shifted slightly out of rhythm. The edges of his vision felt too sharp. The interface appeared quietly. Negative effect detected. Poison, minor source, corrupted wasp. John stopped walking. So you did get me, he muttered. He leaned against a tree and closed his eyes briefly. The armor did not intervene. It did not cleanse the poison. It did not absorb it. It simply remained present. Steady. A minute passed. Then another. The warmth did not intensify. Instead, it began to fade slowly, almost imperceptibly. As if his body was learning. The interface flickered again. Resistance acquired. Status, partial immunity, minor poison. John exhaled slowly. So you didn't save me, he said quietly. You let me go through it. A subtle pulse responded from his chest. Not approval. Not denial. Acceptance. He pushed himself off the tree. The forest looked the same as before. But he understood something new. The system didn't prevent suffering. It measured adaptation. And adaptation required pain. Act 9: The Trial. John stopped in a small open patch of forest wide enough to see several meters in every direction. He wasn't being attacked. He wasn't being followed. For once, there was space to test. He loosened his grip on the dagger and let his arm fall to his side. Then he closed his eyes and focused on the pressure in his chest, the steady presence of the armor's core. Show me, he said quietly. Just, show me. The system interface did not appear. Instead, a faint outline formed directly in front of him. A blade. Simple. Straight. No defined hilt. A pale, trembling sketch of light. Not solid. Not yet. Projection, blade form, unstable. Estimated duration, unknown. Efficiency low. John extended his hand. The moment he tried to grasp it, a cold shock surged through his arm. Not pain exactly, more like resistance. As if reality itself rejected the object. For a fraction of a second, the blade solidified. He felt its weight. Then a crack. A crystalline sound under strain. The blade fractured from the tip downward. No, the pressure in his chest spiked sharply. Warning: structure incomplete. User adaptation insufficient. Instinctively, he tightened his grip, trying to force stability. It was a mistake. The blade shattered completely, collapsing into a wave of energy that tore through his palm and forearm from the inside. He dropped to one knee, breath ragged. No blood. No external wound. Just deep, internal strain, like sudden accumulated exhaustion. The interface appeared late. Partial failure, offensive projection. Consequences: severe stamina reduction. Neural overload. John remained still for several seconds, breathing hard. Then he laughed quietly. Without humor. Okay, he muttered. So not yet. The pressure in his chest gradually eased as if the armor acknowledged the conclusion. A final line appeared beneath the armor's status. Ancient armor, core. Note: complex forms require further feeding and progressive adaptation. John stood slowly. His hand trembled slightly, but it worked. The dagger was still there. Real. Reliable. He looked into the forest. The sword didn't exist yet. But he understood something crucial. The armor didn't invent power. It built it. Step by step, with blood, time, and clear limits. And if he forced it too soon, he would pay. Act 10, the alternative. After the failed blade projection, the pressure in John's chest shifted. It no longer pushed. It suggested. At the edge of his vision, a new schematic appeared, brutally simple. Not a sword. Not a new weapon. A modification. Available offensive option, low cost. Localized reinforcement, passive. Temporarily strengthens an existing object. Short duration. Minimal consumption. Fragmented projection, short unstable spike. Single use. John looked down at his dagger. So you don't create something new, he murmured. You improve what I already have. A faint pulse ran through his palm. He focused. The dagger's blade changed subtly at first. The metal seemed denser, heavier without actually gaining weight. Its edge shimmered faintly, not glowing, but compressing, as if the space around it had tightened. Then the sensation faded. John flexed his fingers. No backlash. No collapse. Good, he said quietly. That I can handle. He swung the blade once through the air. The cut felt different. Cleaner. Sharper. The armor wasn't trying to replace him. It was refining him. A branch nearby caught his attention. He stepped forward and activated the reinforcement again, more deliberately this time. The blue lines along his forearm pulsed faintly. The dagger struck. The branch split instantly, smoother than steel should have allowed. The reinforcement dissolved seconds later. Temporary. Controlled. Sustainable. John exhaled slowly. This is the path, then. No reckless projections. No forcing incomplete forms. Incremental evolution. The forest shifted softly in the distance. Something was moving. John adjusted his grip on the dagger. He didn't need a glowing sword. Not yet. If the armor wanted to build power piece by piece, then he would build with it. One improvement at a time. Act 11, Understanding. John stopped at the edge of the clearing. Not because he was exhausted, but because, for the first time, he had space to think. The interface opened at his command, more stable now, less erratic. Status, user level, 3 available points, 3. He studied the numbers quietly. They weren't impressive. But he understood what they meant. An average adult might reach 2. A well-trained athlete, perhaps 4, rarely 5. He had started at 3. And now he could choose. He didn't search for a perfect build. Didn't attempt optimization theories. He chose practically. Attribute allocation. Perception +1. Agility +1. Endurance +1. Attributes updated. The change was, he shifted his focus to the armor's status. The feeding from the wasps hadn't been spectacular. But it had been enough. Ancient armor, core. State, stable. Hunger, controlled. He no longer felt constant pressure in his chest. Only presence. The interface flickered again. New function unlocked. Minimap, limited, coverage, immediate perception radius, dynamic updates, incomplete data node. Dungeon interference prevents full mapping. At the corner of his vision, something new appeared. Not a traditional map. More like a translucent sketch, an ink stain spreading slowly outward. Trees appeared as vague shapes. Rocks as blurred blocks. Unknown areas remained empty. So you don't tell me where I am, John muttered. You show me where I've been. A faint pulse confirmed it. Not approval. Acknowledgement. Then he felt the real shift. The armor didn't speak. But its suggestions became clearer. A safer step. A better angle. An anticipated dodge. Not commands. Alignment. The interface displayed a new line. Title acquired. Armor bearer. Stage, initiate. John blinked. He didn't feel different. But he understood. The dungeon wasn't meant to be solved. It wasn't a maze with a guaranteed exit. It was an ecosystem of trials. The armor didn't give shortcuts. The system didn't give answers. But now he had direction, spatial memory, confirmation of progress. He looked again toward the thinning tree line ahead. The mini-map showed something unusual in that direction. Not an exit. A discontinuity. There, he said quietly. The pressure in his chest remained neutral. He took a step forward. Then paused. The thought came late, natural, inevitable. If this really works like an RPG, he murmured, where's the magic? No mana bar. No spell list. No incantations. Only body. Decisions. Resources. The armor did not answer. The dungeon continued. And the question remained open. Act 12, Resource, Mana. The interface appeared without warning. Resource, Mana. Status, locked. Reason biological structure incompatible. John frowned. Incompatible. A calm pulse answered from the armor's core. Mana is not free energy. It is a biological interface. Fragments of understanding arranged themselves in his mind, not full explanations, but structured impressions. Mana was not magic. It was infrastructure. Civilizations developed under the Empire had evolved or been modified to possess specialized organs. Natural or artificial conduits capable of filtering ambient energy into manipulable force. Humans did not. Not yet. User classification, human HP, native biology stamina, native biology mana, absent. So no fireballs, John muttered. A faint pulse responded. Not directly. The interface expanded. Spell type abilities. Access, restricted. Available alternatives: artifacts, symbiotic armor, limited energy projections. John looked at his hands. At the dagger. At the faint pulse beneath his ribs. So what I'm doing, the response came colder this time. Is war engineering. Silence followed. The mini-map flickered slightly, marking a zone ahead where data refused to stabilize, a circular distortion in perception. John exhaled slowly. Fine, he said. Then I learn your rules. No mana. No spell casting. But he had something most didn't: an armor that whispered possibility. A body enhanced beyond human limits. And a system that flagged him as an anomaly. He moved forward. The dungeon did not rely on magic. It relied on adaptation. The entity. The clearing shifted before he saw it. The air thickened, charged like the moment before a storm. The hair on his arms rose instinctively. The mini-map flickered violently, unable to fully update a circular zone ahead. The pressure in his chest tightened sharply. Mana-active entity. Not simulation. Usage confirmed. Then it stepped into view. A panther. Lean. Massive. Built for explosive speed. Its fur was black, not matte, but absorbing light. Beneath its skin, faint blue-white lines pulsed like living circuitry. Its tail extended unnaturally long, composed of condensed electrical fibers. Sparks jumped between it and the surrounding air. Its eyes were calm. Not animal. Calculating. The interface struggled to stabilize. Mana-active entity. Type, wild. Familiar form, electric panther. Class, unknown. Threat level, high. The panther lowered its body close to the ground. Its tail arced. And lightning struck. Not from the sky. From the air around it. A thin blue bolt cut the space in a straight line. John dove sideways just in time. The ground behind him exploded, vitrified by heat. That's real magic, he muttered. Yes. Do not attempt direct block. Combat. The panther moved instantly. Not forward, sideways. Its tail traced arcs of light while its body remained low, prepared to spring. A second bolt formed, wider, unstable. John ran. Not desperate. Calculated. His enhanced stats showed their worth. Direction changes were sharp, controlled. The panther's claws sliced the air inches from him. The armor responded. Vector projection, ballistic. Suggested angle. Indirect impact. John compressed air and released it toward the ground beneath the panther. The explosion of dirt and stone struck its flank, throwing it sideways. It growled. Its tail vibrated violently. Effective. Continue. A third bolt formed as the panther leapt. John stepped diagonally into the arc. Relying on reinforced endurance. The lightning struck his side. Agony burst through his nerves, muscles seizing violently, but he did not fall. He rolled. Recovered instantly. The dagger was already in his hand. He activated localized reinforcement. The blade felt heavier. Sharper. The panther lunged again. John moved under the arc of its leap and slashed sideways. The blade struck the tail. Light exploded. The panther screamed. The electric fibers collapsed. Final exchange. Wounded, the creature tried to retreat while charging one last discharge. John didn't allow it. He triggered a final ballistic projection, compressing air beneath its chest from behind. The impact disrupted its focus. The forming lightning shattered. John stepped in close and drove the dagger deep beneath its jaw. The panther collapsed. Sparks faded into silence. The forest exhaled. Act 13, The Converter. The interface appeared immediately. Entity eliminated. EXP awarded. Loot detected. Near the panther's body where mana had condensed moments before, something floated. Small. Unstable. A crystalline core suspended within an old metallic ring. It vibrated faintly, emitting irregular pulses of pale blue light. The system analyzed it. Unknown artifact. Type, energy converter. Function, simulated mana, limited. State, functional, unstable. John picked it up. The crystal was cold. Heavy in a way that didn't match its size. So this is what made you different, he said quietly. A calm pulse responded from his chest. Borrowed mana. Now unclaimed. The mini-map stabilized slightly. Ahead, the forest boundary fractured. The exit was no longer just possibility. It was close. But the armor's pressure shifted. Not hunger. Not warning. Suggestion. John stepped beneath thicker trees where the air felt steadier. He looked at the artifact in his palm. The crystal pulsed like a tiny, frozen heart. The interface displayed artifact, energy converter. Artificial mana, 12/12. State, unstable. Warning: overload may cause energetic feedback. All right, John muttered. Once. He extended his hand and focused not on lightning, but on the pathway the panther had used. He didn't try to create the storm. He tried to open the channel. The crystal ignited. Pain hit instantly. Not external, internal. As if his nerves were forced to conduct something they were never designed to carry. A thin arc of electricity burst outward, striking a tree trunk several meters away. The bark blackened in a perfect vertical line. John dropped to one knee, teeth clenched. Artificial mana, 4/12. Status, minor neural burns. So it works, he gasped. And it wants to kill me. The armor reacted sharply. You are not a conductor. Allow integration. Without asking, the armor enveloped the artifact. Not physically. Energetically. John felt the pressure in his chest connect to the crystal like a mouth biting into current. The pain shifted from his arm to his sternum, intense but controlled. The interface began flashing rapidly. Artifact, armor interaction detected. Process, assimilation. The crystal cracked. Not shattered. Dissolved. Threads of light unraveled from it and flowed directly into the armor's blue veins, following invisible circuits beneath his skin. For a heartbeat, he felt the panther's memory again, the charge building in its tail, the compression of air before release. Then silence. The interface stabilized. Result: ancient armor, core. New function unlocked: imitated electric discharge. Type, energy projection source, armor stability cost, hunger plus stamina. Note: not true mana. John raised his trembling hand. He focused again. This time, no internal tearing. A short electric arc snapped through the air, weaker than before, but controlled. It struck a nearby stone, cracking its surface instantly. Ancient hunger, active, low. Armor stability, reduced. So I have lightning, he said quietly. But I pay with you. A colder pulse answered. You pay with us. It wasn't magic. It wasn't mana. It was a forced imitation of a system humans were never meant to wield yet. John stood slowly. The dungeon exit shimmered faintly ahead, a stable rupture in the forest structure. But now he understood something critical. Every new power didn't just bring him closer to survival. It brought him closer to the armor. And the armor never forgot who fed it. Act 14, Dungeon Boss. The mini-map darkened abruptly across a wide area ahead. Not unknown. Not unmapped. Occupied. The pressure in John's chest grew dense, heavy, like lungs struggling to fully expand. Major adversary detected. Not minor sustenance. He stepped to the edge of a narrow ravine. Beyond it, the forest dipped into a natural depression. Broken trunks littered the ground. The earth was scorched in places, old craters marking previous battles. And at the center, something massive. A towering creature crouched low to the ground. Its body was thick, layered in overlapping dark bone plates. 4 short limbs supported its weight, compact, but terrifyingly dense. Its head rested close to the earth. It breathed slowly. Each exhale made the air vibrate. The interface appeared. Territorial Guardian, Major. Class, Behemoth. Level. Recommendation, Avoid. John tightened his grip on the dagger. Avoid and lose direction. Fight and risk everything. He glanced at the mini-map. Beyond the creature, a stable rupture pulsed. Not part of the forest. Not moving with the terrain. A fixed point. Fine, he muttered. Then here. The behemoth raised its head. Its eyes glowed a dull yellow. The creature moved forward. Not fast. Inevitable. Each step shook the ground. John sprinted sideways, enhanced agility carrying him clear of the initial charge. He triggered a ballistic projection, striking the earth beneath the behemoth. The ground exploded upward. The bone plates held. Insufficient. The behemoth swung one massive limb. Impact. John was hurled backward, slamming into a tree trunk. Air left his lungs in a violent rush. The interface flashed red. HP, 62% now, he breathed. He forced himself upright and raised his hand. He felt the armor open, internal channels forcing stability beyond comfort. Electric discharge, imitated. Warning: high cost. Lightning did not fall from the sky. It tore through the air. A thick, unstable arc slammed directly into the behemoth's bone plating. Light blinded the clearing. The sound was metallic, inhuman. The creature convulsed violently. For the first time it roared. Continue. John forced a second discharge. Mistake. Light. Sound. Then emptiness. The armor absorbed the recoil, but stability plummeted. The interface flooded with warnings. Ancient hunger, critical. Armor stability, danger. HP, 41%. The behemoth dropped to one knee. Smoke rose from its cracked plates. Burned nerves twitched beneath exposed sections of flesh. Not dead. But vulnerable. John didn't hesitate. He rushed forward, sliding beneath its lowered head. He activated localized reinforcement and drove the dagger deep into the exposed tissue beneath the throat. A wet, tearing sound. The behemoth collapsed, shaking the entire depression. The moment the massive body stilled, the air shifted. The depression vibrated. Behind where the behemoth fell, space fractured like water struck from beneath. Light twisted inward, forming an unstable oval shape. Its edges trembled. A portal. Not natural. Not forest-born. Forced. The mini-map updated instantly. Dungeon exit confirmed. Type, transitional portal. State, stable, temporary. John dropped to his knees immediately after. His breathing was erratic. Dark spots filled his vision. His heart pounded unevenly. The armor fed. The behemoth's blood was drawn violently, far more aggressively than before. Not refined. Not patient. Massive feeding complete. Armor EXP, plus 112. The pressure in his chest stabilized only after several long seconds. John lifted his head slowly. The portal pulsed ahead like an open wound in reality. Beyond it was no longer the dungeon. Act 15, Set Memory. When his pulse finally slowed, John remained seated beside the behemoth's massive corpse. His breathing was still heavy. But the pressure in his chest had changed. It was no longer only stability. It was memory. The interface appeared quietly. Ancient armor, core. Level, 4 new function unlocked, partial set memory access. Set. John whispered. The answer did not come as a voice. It came as something else. A memory that did not belong to him. A battlefield beneath a red sky. The atmosphere was thick, gravity slightly different, heavier, denser. The armor the same armor, but complete, covered a figure that was not human. Its lines burned with living energy. In the figure's right hand was a sword. Not a simple blade. Long, elegant. Its core luminous. It did not cut flesh. It severed energy fields. Each swing tore through spells before they formed. Magic fractured mid-cast. Shields collapsed before impact. The Empire feared that sword. Not because it killed. Because it nullified advantage. I am not alone. I was once a set. The vision shifted. The bearer gravely wounded. A forced retreat. A dimensional rupture tearing open the sky. The set was not destroyed. It was scattered. The armor fell first. The sword thrown farther. Earth. Same world. A chill crawled along John's spine. It's here, he asked quietly. A pause. Then confirmation. Yes. The interface appeared different this time. Older. More rigid. Set item, lock active. Designation, unknown. Type, ancient sword. Status, sealed. Requirements: user level, 10, armor level, minimum 7, estimated. Why not now? John demanded. The response was immediate. Without adaptation, it would tear you apart. More images flooded through him. Incompatible bearers. Bodies ruptured from within. Hands that grasped the blade and died before they could swing. The sword did not accept ambition. It did not accept impatience. It did not accept weakness. Where is it? He asked. The pressure in his chest condensed into a single point. The mini-map flickered, showing something beyond its range for a fraction of a second. A distant marker. Very distant. Set location, fragmentary. Distance, extreme. Environment, urban. Status, dormant. Note: full coordinates unavailable. Clarity increases with level. Urban. A city. John swallowed. On Earth, in a city. A calm pulse confirmed it. Waiting. John stood slowly. This was no longer only about escaping the dungeon. It was no longer only about survival. On a planet occupied by an alien empire, there existed a weapon designed to counter their greatest advantage. And it was connected to him. Not now. But eventually. When you are ready. The mini-map pulsed again. The portal shimmered only a few steps away. John glanced back one last time at the fallen behemoth, at the ruined forest, at the path that had nearly killed him. Then he turned toward the light. The dungeon had ended. The war had only just begun.